Hello, my name is Brittany D. I am a psychic medium and spiritual teacher. My divine purpose is to assist in the expansion of the collective consciousness and to help you become more connected with the divine. This is a space to remember all that you truly are and ignite the possibilities of your highest potential. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I am so grateful to have you here in this present moment. I am so excited to have Miss Jaime King, the Slay Coach, featured on the podcast this week. We are going to be talking about money trauma, money wounds, creating your reality, the laws of the universe, all the good stuff. I am so excited to have you here, Jaime. Thank you so much for your time. I'm just so excited to see where this conversation goes.
Me too. I love you. Thank you for having me. I'm super grateful. I'm super proud of you. It's really cool to always see my little babies fly out of the nest and create really cool things in the world. And this has been really exciting to watch. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. And it's also like just thinking about it just now, like the podcast was really birthed through Fast Track, and then here you are on the podcast. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful full circle.
It's my favorite thing in the whole world, especially podcasts. I don't know why, because it feels so tangible. Like when books are written or when podcasts are released, you know what I mean? It feels like, because in the online world, it's hard to feel like we've created,
right?
You know, like tangible things, especially in any service-based business, whether you're, you know, a professional organizer or a life coach or a massage therapist. It's hard to feel like I've created something physical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, absolutely. It makes a difference if you can see, you know, and whenever you can see it, or you're not giving like someone a product, you know, you're giving them a transformation, and it's like, how do I even calculate that?
I know. Like, it's crazy. It's really cool to see when my students and babies and friends create these really cool things in the world. So I'm super proud of you.
Thank you. I'm so grateful. It was a wonderful time, and I just am so appreciative for you and your existence, and like you slaying. I'm like, we're going, we're slaying. That's where we're going.
And to have another woman student, because I don't actually have a lot of students from our city. My clients are from all over the world, and so to have you really take off and run, it's like, guys, we're doing cool shit in this city. Look at her doing cool shit. We're in Louisville. Louisville's cool. Look at her being cool.
Louisville is cool, dude. I traveled all over the world, and there is something magical about Louisville. Like,
I know
it really is. There's something super special about it, and you can't even really like put your finger on exactly. It's like it's a really small, tight knit, that community like nurture feel, but you also get like all of the good concerts and food, and the benefits of a city.
The benefits of a city and not all the drama of a really tiny town.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so big still that like, okay, you don't like your little bubble, go find a new bubble.
Yeah. It's that perfect medium. And honestly, like I almost like, this is probably selfish, but I like keep it a secret to an extent, because I'm like, I don't want more people to come here. Like the more it populated becomes, it's not going to have that small feel anymore. Like we're good right where we're at. This is the perfect medium.
That's like that's what happened in Nashville. I feel like Nashville was like this,
and then started booming.
And I've seen people expat from Nashville here because we're like the closest big town. And I mean, hell, 2 or 3 houses ago, we sold to someone that was an expat leaving Nashville.
Yeah. No, really though. It happened there. I'm like, I don't want that to happen in Louisville. I love it just the way it is. Stay right here.
And it's really cheap here.
Yeah.
Speaking of cheap and money mindset.
Yeah. So seriously, like give us maybe a little bit of rundown of like, I mean, I know your journey because I've worked with you, but like just kind of giving the listeners, you know, the from the beginning to how did you get to be a millionaire?
And I don't like that term millionaire. And not that I'm shaming or anyone that calls me, everyone calls me that, but like, just because I've created $1 million over a million, you know, doesn't mean I have it. I reinvest everything. This is why, like, I understand how money works and how to use it, and say what you want about people like Donald Trump or how he owes, you know, X amount in taxes or how he's this amount in debt. people like him know how to use money to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding how money works, really educating myself around money really saved my relationship, because the number one problem in a lot of relationships, and the number one problem in my relationship with my husband, was we fought over money. We fought over how we spent it. We fought over how I spent it. We fought over what we should do with it, what we shouldn't do with it. And it was just this shame cycle around not having enough. And some of my biggest fights with my husband in the beginning of our relationship was all over money. Me being frustrated with his penny pinching, frugal scarcity, and me being just, even before I dove into my own healing around money, me just being really abundant with it and understanding how, I can always go make more money. I've always been like, well, I'll just go make more money.
Right.
And I've always just created my own destiny and took my own destiny into my hands from, time I was 10. I started slinging bracelets that I made, or, started babysitting at 12. And I was like, oh, I can go make more money. And so realizing that we all have our own trauma around money, and we all have our own trauma around what it means to have it or not have it. What people with it are, they're good or bad, or they're evil, or they're whatever. I mean, like, even a few years ago, the neighborhood I live in now, I used to make fun of. And so what I've witnessed is that being, quote unquote, on my journey to being a millionaire, right? To having millions, not just making millions, is my goal and journey now, is to help real people build wealth, and educating people around money and how it works is the number one gift that you can give someone. It's like, you can give someone a fish, or you can teach them to fish.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is always going to be to teach you guys how to fish. Do I give back to charity a lot? Yes. I have multiple donations going out every month to multiple different organizations that I believe in. Every GoFundMe I can see on my page, I probably donate way too much money to, but I believe in teaching people skills, because how are we going to keep people where I'm from? South Louisville. Brittany, are you from Louisville? Like Louisville?
No, I'm from Jersey, but my whole family, my mom's whole family is from Louisville. So I came here when I was a kid. I would come here every summer for a month and stay with my grandparents.
Right. So you get what it feels like in this city when people say, where'd you go to high school?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. My mom, when we moved to Louisville, when she moved back to Louisville, Jamie, listen to this. You'll get this, okay? She was going around, and my mom had like contracts whenever she was in New Jersey with Lockheed Martin and Johnson & Johnson and all these she had all these huge connects, right? From Philly. Right. And then she was going around and applying to jobs in Louisville when we moved to Louisville in the middle of whenever I was in high school. And she came home and she was like, Brittany, you'll never believe this. And I was like, what? And she goes, I come with this resume, this incredible resume. And the first question they ask me is, where did you go to high school? Like, is that not so Louisville? That's Louisville.
It's so true. And probably the only other city that, because I'm like you, I've traveled the world and I still come back here. The only other city I've found that to be true in is Vegas. It's very much a city, it's a big city, small town feel like Louisville. And it's actually much smaller than Louisville because most of their population is tourists and that's not really counted. But Vegas is like 600,000 people. And everyone asks, where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go to high school? And I'm from, quote unquote, I don't believe there's a right or wrong side of tracks, but I grew up in the part of town that was, you're the working class, blue collar, poor white kids, or the poor ethnic mixed group of kids. So I went to St. John Vianney, which is now a Catholic, which is now a Vietnamese community center. Half of my student friends were Vietnamese, Bosnian, different African descent, depending on what different refugees were taken into the America. I grew up literally a rock's throw away from the Americana apartments. And so a lot of culture. I was exposed very culturally as a kid to all these different food types and backgrounds. And, you know, you don't wear shoes inside because a lot of my friends were Vietnamese, and I had to learn like, oh, you don't wear your shoes inside. And so I grew up, I think, really fucking cool, exposed to a lot of shit, which a lot of people don't get that opportunity. But I grew up in a part of town where people don't leave. Not all, but the majority of my friends from South Louisville still live in South Louisville. They still have the same friends from high school. This isn't bad. It's just like the way that it is. They grew up to do the same type of businesses or jobs that their parents did, or their teachers or their whatever. And they teach in the high school that we went to, or it's just this very small city subsection of Louisville where it's very loud and proud. South Louisville. Like, you don't leave South Louisville. It's great. Why would you want to leave? It's cheap. It's great. There's good people here. Why would you want to leave? We have Vietnam Kitchen, for fuck's sake. Why would you leave?
Oh, so good. So good.
I know. Still the best Vietnamese food in the fucking world. So I was very, very loudly and proudly like, I'm going to buy a house on Southern Parkway. I'm never going to leave. My first 2 homes were in South Louisville. I bought my first house at 21. I bought my second house with my husband. I want to say I was like 27, 28 maybe. And it was just like, you don't fucking leave South Louisville. And everyone that left is snobby. And ew, they moved out to the East End. Or, oh my God, who do they think they are? Ew, they moved to Norton Commons. It's so Stepford Wives. And there's just so much judgment around anyone that doesn't choose that life. Like, why would you not choose it? South Louisville is so cheap. You can get everything for so cheap here. The food's good. People are good. Great. And so anyone that left us, it felt like this lack of like, you were abandoning us, or you thought you were too good for us if you left that part of town. And so I remember always deep down desiring like being able to afford to leave. Right. And I was like, oh, I wish I could leave, but not really. So what we do when we don't think we can change our situation, if we don't believe we can get out of where we are, right, we'll defend it to the life of why it's better than everything else in the world. And it's not good or bad. When we start putting these labels on South Louisville is good and the East End is bad, or the East End is snobby, or the rich people are snobby, or they're all robots. Especially during the protests, I saw so many people commenting about the neighborhood I live in now. And they were saying like, let's go out and, you know, riot in Norton Commons. Let's bring the riots out to Norton Commons and see how much they like it out there. The robots will be so happy. The Stepford Wives will shake in their boots. And it's like, oh my God, seeing that separation, seeing that shame, seeing that like judgment that I used to do. I was that girl 5 years ago, you guys, but creating judgment, creating separation, telling the world, the universe that people with nice houses or nice cars or money are bad is me telling the world that I don't think I can ever have it. Or saying, why would you want it if you think the people that have it are bad? And I don't want to be bad. No one wants to be bad. I want to be a good person. And good people are over here. Good people don't have money. And so all this does is it creates separation from opportunity, separation from information and education, and separation from living a life without limits. And we put these limits on ourselves because we believe we can't have those things. Like, I could never live in Norton Commons. Instead of asking ourselves, do I actually want that? Because, you know, Norton Commons isn't the end all be all. Well, there's a lot of really cool neighborhoods, right? But for me, it was a great place to raise kids, and that's why I wanted to be here. And I was like, maybe if I give it a try. So for 3 years, I spent stalking this neighborhood. And I thought, surely it's just all one white housewives and they're all like super stuck up, right? I spent time here. And once I started spending time here, I stopped separating myself from all the things that I thought were bad and started asking myself, are they bad? Or am I placing judgment on things the way that I don't want people to place judgment on me? Just like South Louisville isn't all racist rednecks, or it's not all hood rat crack meth heads. You know what I mean? Like, I'm placing the same judgment on wealthy people or rich people that I don't want put on me because of where I'm from. So we do that when something is different, or when we choose and we want to leave something or change our life, we don't feel like we can. We create this judgment and separation about why that thing is bad. So we can tell ourselves that I don't really want that because it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But is it bad that people with money, is it true that people with money are bad? No, it's not. There's a lot of really, really, really good, wealthy people in the world. There's a lot of really good, poor people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of really shitty, wealthy people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a lot of really shitty, poor people in the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I don't believe they're shitty. It's just they all need different levels of healing, and they're acting out of their own trauma and pain. And so I realized that so much of my upbringing put this identity on me that I could never be wealthy. I'm from South Louisville. That doesn't happen for people like me. It doesn't happen for people like me. I got knocked up at 19. I had a kid when I was 20. Like, that's the end of the road for me. That doesn't happen for people like me. I don't have a college degree. I could never make more than $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year because I don't have a degree. Well, that doesn't happen for people like me because, and all of these things were just placing limits on myself that weren't ultimately true. And my job now, as a girl from South Louisville, as a girl who came from a single parent income household, who my mom worked 3 jobs to put my dad through school. Like, she busted her ass for us. And as a girl who didn't realize until this year, I had like childhood financial trauma. Like, I didn't realize how much healing I needed to do to not just attract more money, but to be open to being wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think being wealthy is bad, or if you think that people with money and opportunity or certain cars or certain neighborhoods are bad, you are literally going to do everything in your power to deflect money opportunity. I mean, it could be a raise in your fucking job.
Mm-hmm.
I know people that will turn down promotions because it'll put them into a different tax bracket and they don't want to pay those extra taxes or something. You know what I mean? Like, you will literally turn down opportunity that is like I like to say, teabagging. The universe is teabagging you with her nuts in the face,
Mm-hmm.
like just teabagging you in the face with money and opportunity. And you'll be like, nope, that's not for me. That's for other people. And so the key to quote unquote making it, to building wealth, is to understanding how money works, education, understanding how money works, and understanding where is my money trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, one of those stories was, well, I always have just enough and that's it. And I remember very vividly taking a calculator to the grocery store with my mom because we were never without food. I was never, yes, I realized that I didn't have money because I got free lunch at school. You know, I realized I was one of the poorer kids at school, but there were a lot of poor kids at school. So it didn't feel like I was outcast or anything. But I was like, okay, cool. My lunch is free, but so are like half my friends. So that's fine. But taking a calculator to the grocery store really signified that I always have just enough, but not more. Like, just enough for what I need, but not enough for more than that. And so
that is like where I have been for so long. And now my journey, like with money, like my whole thing was that I realized, like what you were kind of saying at the end with like the separation, like I'm all about unity consciousness, being one, all being on the same, loving and accepting each other. And anytime I see myself dropping into separation, I'm like, oh, that means that there's healing that's needed there. And you were like such a divine mirror because I saw you and I was like, oh, this bitch, she's just like flaunting it into herself. But then I was like, wait a minute, you're dropping into separation. You're judging her. That means that you have healing. That means that you have something you need to address. And so then that's really what really started my money journey, was that realizing that I'm actually in separation. I'm not in unity consciousness in the state of scarcity. I'm actually not, where I want to be, where I'm loving everybody. I'm judging those people because they have money, because I'm so used to just having enough,
Just having enough. And that's such a powerful lack vibration that people don't understand is lack. Cause you're like, well, I'm good. I feel supported.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but do you know what I mean? Because you're not allowing yourself to desire more. And that doesn't feel like abundance. And Brittany has been such a beautiful journey to watch with her money, because I know so many people in this, I get judged from the non-spiritual community. I get judged from the spiritual community. I get judged for being too 5D. I get judged for being too 3D. I get judged for being too airy-fairy, head in the fucking clouds, not realistic, doesn't understand real life. And I also get judged by the spiritual community for believing people's victimization story because I'm allowing people to believe, because I give to charity or some shit. You know what I mean? Like on your own journey, you have to realize that it's your own fucking journey, and that you're going to trigger a lot of things in other people as you level up, and you're going to shed people. You're going to shed their truth, their stories, and it's going to be painful, and it's not going to feel good. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to throw things at you, and they're going to say, stop being the way that you're being. It's hurtful. Stop doing that. You're wrong. I'm right. And if we can all look at it as not wrong or right, as just reflections of shit we're all going through, then the people that are throwing stones at you, you don't need to throw stones in the back, and you also don't need to prove that they're wrong. Mm-hmm. Like my biggest thing with especially the spiritual community, because I'm a certified level 1 spirit junkie, Gabby Bernstein life coach. Like I've been on this spiritual journey for the last 3.5 years. And what I can say is it's all just a reflection of the shit we each need to work on. And my biggest thing that I've seen Brittany really master and accomplish this last year has letting people think what they want to think and feel about you, and not letting it. When you believe in your heart of heart that you are not a money hungry, obsessed person, or that money isn't bad, when you know that to be true, people can literally tell you all day that money's bad, you're bad for wanting more money, and you can let them feel that and think that. I don't need to change their opinion. Mm-hmm. I believe so true money to be the number one symbolic driving force of cyclical energy in our universe. There's a reason why money is called currency, is because it's how we circulate energy and value is through money and receiving and giving. And so money is literally a reflection of our energy current flowing through the universe, and how we give back to the world and how we receive in the world. And none of that is bad. People wouldn't think that energy circulation is bad. So why would they think that money is bad? Now, putting your only value in money. I teach on money, and I know Brittany's been talking about it lately, because we're on our own healing journeys around it. And I've been divinely called to share what I have learned, because I believe it's my mission and path to bring wealth to women who never thought that they could have it, who come from where I come from, who I want to give people permission to not just desire more money, but desire opportunity, desire more experience in life. And I was able to work almost no hours in the last 2 weeks and be with my kids and still bring in tens of thousands of dollars in revenue, because I create value in people's lives. And that is an experience. It's not me flaunting my Gucci bag, although I don't believe Gucci bags are bad. It's not me bragging about the fact that I live in Norton Commons. There are things that money creates for us, and it creates opportunity. It creates freedom of choice, mm-hmm. and it creates experience. And if we are here to live a fully expressed life, you require money to do that. And if you want to change the world, or if you want to, where's the coolest place in the world you've been, Brittany?
I would say so far, Peru, Amazon.
Did that cost money to get there?
Oh yeah, thousands of dollars.
Right. Brittany, you are bad for wanting thousands of dollars to travel the world. Imagine saying that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and I was just
people don't
talking
say
about
that.
this on my story, actually. I would say like last week or something. I was like, it's like people might perceive that like my journey with money is that I'm like their perception might be that I'm like money hungry or something, but that's their perception. What really for me it is that I am on a spiritual journey of liberation. I am going to liberate every single aspect of my reality and live as limitless as possible, because that's as close to God and source as possible. And so it just popped up in my reality that money was limiting me. And so I was like, okay, we got to liberate ourselves then. Like, I'm not going to live within this limited box with money anymore. I'm just not. It's just a choice, you know? And the intention, the choice of it is massive. But then also, like you were saying, the healing, actually addressing all of those things and moving through the healing work, that is really where the game starts to change. That's where things really start to shift.
And this is just the beginning. And there's always work to be done. And I hire spiritual teachers who understand the quantum field and understand manifestation at a different level than I do, because I want to be in their energy and their understanding, because that understanding of money rubs off on me. Yes, there are practical, tactical things that you can learn about the tax code and how to use money to funnel it into a new company. So when we make money in one company, we funnel it into another company to start a new business. And that's how people avoid paying taxes. People are like, how did Trump avoid paying taxes? Well, I'm like, he puts it into other businesses. Like, it's only wrong if the law says it's wrong. And right now the law doesn't say it's wrong. Do I think it's wrong? The law says it's not wrong. Yes, but the law says he can do that. So until we all agree upon what is legal or not legal with what we do with our money, right? We all have to stop judging and hating other people for how they're using it, or how they're showing up in the world with it, or how they're treating it. And if you can stay so focused on your own money journey, you're not going to worry about how much money Susie Q does or doesn't have. You're not going to worry about what other people are doing with their money, or what they should be doing with their money, or what you believe, what you deem to be righteous and true and just in the world. Well, they should be donating all their money to charity. Okay, like, there are really good people in the world. I take my money and fuel it to build this mission bigger and this company bigger, so that I can change more lives and help more people. So sometimes that means I rent out an entire, $3,000 a week in an Airbnb so that I can get away and work for a week, like, sometimes that means I spend really lavish things on, like, a publicist, there's just so many things that can be done with money. I choose to fuel it into my mission and my brand and my experiences for my family, because, like, you're on this mission to be limitless, right? To live unlimited. And I realized that even a year ago, I realized my own limits, and COVID brought those to a screeching halt. I thought, well, I could never find a nanny that was good enough to watch my kids, right? I could never find a nanny that, well, I would have to pay so much more money for a nanny than school, so I'll just keep my kids in school. But I felt so limited by my kids being in school, because we can only travel when they were out of school, and we could only do stuff as a family if they had off days. And there was attendance, and there was someone else's agenda that we were keeping track of. You know what I mean? And I was like, wait, if I just hire the nanny, which is another money block, I was like, the nanny's not that much more than private school. Like, why don't I just hire the nanny?
Yeah, and then she can just come travel with us, and they're still going to school.
Right. Our nanny does homeschool with our kids, and then we've been doing it the last 2 weeks because of COVID. But our nanny, we hired a nanny that was willing to travel with us multiple weeks out of the year. Not full time, but I put all these limits on, well, my kids have to be in school because I need to run a company and I need to work. I'm like, well, wait, could I just get a bigger house where my kids could be in the third floor, the basement, and I could be on the third floor? I did. So I got a bigger house. Does this house cost twice the price of the last house? Yes. But it's freedom.
Right. And I think that
this is freedom.
It's hard, like, because I'm just thinking back, like, even just 6 months ago, it was so difficult for me to see that, like to actually understand that. It was almost this cognitive dissonance where like, I just couldn't get it. And then once you get on the other side, away from the scarcity and closer to the abundance, which is love, which is source, which is God, and you become closer and connected to that, then you can start to see that this actually ends up equaling what I really like, all those limits, what I really want. But I think that shift from being in that scarcity and that limit place, being really limited, that's where, that's why the healing of the trauma in between there, that's where getting to that abundant place, that's like almost kind of the bridge, because you have to address all of those limits that are happening in your mind that you don't even realize I'm thinking this way. You know, you don't even know. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been saying that to myself over and over again. That's ridiculous.
What was one of your limits?
One of my limits, so very interesting. My money story is like almost like is not, I wouldn't say the opposite, but I grew up in a lot of money. Now, whenever I was really young, we didn't have like a lot of money, but from my memory, not just the stories I was told, I grew up like $1 million homes, you know, on the golf course. We had a nice house, like I would drive to, like I'd be going to soccer practice or something, and like we'd be in the car. And this happened 3 different times where the mom was like driving the car and be like, oh my God, look at that house. It's such a beautiful house. And then I'm in the backseat. I'm like, that's my house. Like that would happen like literally 3 different times I remember in my childhood, because we had such a big, beautiful house, and it was just so unique, and it was right on the golf course. And it was, I mean, we had all the money, like we went on vacations 3 times a year. Like we had all of the galore. But what I realized was that it was really hard for me to receive money because I never felt deserving, because it was always just handed to me and handed to me and handed to me. And so then, I realized like, oh my gosh, now that I'm doing life on my own, I don't feel deserving of receiving it because I always was just handed it. I never really did deserve it. I was just handed it. And so it created this belief that like receiving money isn't a good thing. And I even have this very specific story of whenever my best friend, she also lived on the golf course. She lived 4 houses down from me. Her dad, one day they were like even more millionaires. And one day her and I were going to the mall, and I was probably about 11 or 12 years old. And her dad just out of nowhere spontaneously handed her and I both $500 and was like, have a good time. Like you really go to the mall and have a good time. And we come home and my arms are covered in bags. Like I just bawled out at the mall. You know what I'm saying? And I walk in and my mom is like, where did you get all that stuff? You know, like, where did you get that from? Da, da, da. And like,
it's stolen.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And so then I was like, oh, you know, Julie's dad just gave us each $500. It was like so much fun. We like put all this stuff or whatever. And I'm like, and she was, I guess what had happened, I didn't know in the background that there was some kind of business deal that had gone bad between them. And so he subconsciously was like trying to make up for that and like gave me money. And so then my mom was like, oh no, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, she was pissed, and she like made me go with him to go give him back the money. And it became this whole thing. And I was like, oh God, we don't just take lump sums from money from people. Like that became my belief. Right. Like you don't just take lump sums of money from people. Like that's really bad. That ends up really bad. Mom gets really mad. And, and so then I had that belief, and I had to literally go back to my inner child at that time and re-heal with her and let her know that was a situation that had nothing to do with you. That was just, you just became a part of it, but it had nothing to do with you or money or receiving money, or none of that is bad, you know? And I had to nurture her, and now I'm able to receive money in a whole new way. But I didn't even know that story was playing I didn't even know. I literally didn't even know that's like, I had no idea.
Yeah, I know, right? It's great. Like one thing that came up for me recently, and a lot of people commented, is I was so grateful to be able to buy my daughter an American Girl doll. And I remember being the kid that that always wanted one and was always told that's not for you. like that's not a priority for us right now. And my parents did a really good job of kind of paraphrasing it, but I always knew that I couldn't. I always knew that I didn't have what they had and I couldn't have what my other friends had. And so I was always very aware of that. And then I saw so many women comment how they always wanted an American Girl doll and never do have one, but now they get to buy that for their kids. And I was like, wow, that American Girl doll really caused a lot of trauma for like, but what I've seen, and I love Brittany's take on this too, is that I've had clients we've done deep money healing work around receiving money, around having money, that were wealthy as a kid and that were dirt fucking poor. So the stories of trauma are on both sides of the coin.
Yep.
And one is easier. I think coming from money is not necessarily easier to heal. It's harder to see the blocks because you think, oh, I know what it's like to have money. It's a different kind of block. So people feel like they're not allowed to have money trauma if they came from money. But they're easy. People that come from money have a better way of adapting to receiving it. But I had a client in the past who grew up, her dad is the VP of one of the largest accounting firms in the world. It's PricewaterhouseCoopers or something like that. The one that does the Oscars every year, you know what I mean? Like the big accounting firm. Like she grew up, her dad is still like, one of the biggest VPs in the world for accounting firms. And family's very well off, but she grew up with a money story that, people expect me to pay for everything. My friends know that I'm wealthy, so I have to buy my friends' love because I'm the rich kid and it's expected of me. So like money trauma is not just for kids that grew up poor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there is shame and guilt on both sides of the aisles of having money or not having money and what that means. So if we can take our own stories and make them really, really powerful, because Brittany has a special kind of story that is going to help heal so many women who have problems receiving it. My money story helps women that couldn't have the American Girl doll. You know what I mean?
Right.
And also me having, as a wealthy mother, being afraid to raise people that don't want to do anything to earn their money. You know what I mean? Like having kids, like my trauma, my current, fear around money is that, spoiling, am I spoiling my children? Oh, what if they become lazy and they never do anything in the world? And so understanding that rich people don't have it better, they have it different. Poor people don't have it worse, they have it different. And there's trauma on both sides of the aisle, which I think Brittany is probably like something you didn't realize you had permission to feel, really, was trauma around money. You probably didn't give yourself that permission because you're probably come from a space of, that would be ungrateful for me to say I have all this money trauma when I came from money.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's not true.
Absolutely.
Like we all have our stories and they're all different. And so understanding that once we can uncover these blocks, this is why Brittany and I do the work that we do, the healing work, the uncovering the subconscious blocks and beliefs. That is how you decide who you're going to become, what you're going to live, what you're going to experience in this world, and what you're going to allow yourself to give and receive. Because life is about building a life on desire. And what am I going to allow myself to give? And what am I going to allow myself to receive of in this world? Period.
Yeah, living by my own rules.
Living by your own fucking rules.
Literally, though, like we are
Fund,
creators. We create this reality. You get to live by your own rules.
Yeah, but if you were a trust fund baby, like receiving a trust fund from your parents, a check you would feel indebted to them.
Oh, yeah.
That wouldn't feel like good, loving, receiving energy. There are people that have money, you guys, that receive a lot of money that don't feel really good about that money and that don't feel like they can do whatever they want with that money. That is not wealth. That is not abundance. Just because people have money, I know a lot of really broke rich people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like broke is a mindset. It's on both sides of the aisle. There are a lot of people that are restricted and blocked with what they're doing with their money because they believe that they can't. And unlocking your potential of what you actually desire. Like, what does Brittany desire? What does your audience desire? What do I desire? Well, I desire a lot of things, and not just things. I desire a lot of experiences. I desire multiple homes. I desire trips all over the world whenever COVID stops being a cunt. And saying, I'm going to let other people desire those things, and I'm going to figure out what I desire. Building a life on your own fucking desires. Not what Brittany does with her money, not what I do with my money. What do you want money for?
Right.
When you can desire it, I want it because this.
And I think that paying attention to what other people are doing or how they're handling money or whatever it may be, like, it's almost like a distraction from you honing in on like, what are my desires? What's my money story? What do I need to heal? Like, that's all just you trying to distract yourself from like the real fucking work.
Yeah. You don't have to do the real work when you're too busy worried about what everybody else is doing.
Right. Exactly. So I would say like, what are like three, like, let's say for the listener that is just like they're listening, they're like, oh my gosh, I've never thought about what I desire. I've never thought about addressing money wounds. Like what would be like three top, like this step, and this, like, where would you say to start? And then after that, do this and then this.
I would say, what am I not allowing myself to dream bigger of? If I could dream bigger, what would I dream about? Then how can I add interest plus tax? Because I guarantee you're selling yourself short. Because if you would have asked me what my dreams were 3 years ago, it would have been, oh, my dreams are to make $100,000 a year. And, you know, to maybe move out of my current neighborhood, maybe move to the Highlands. I want you to dream 10 times bigger than what you're allowing yourself to dream right now. So what do you desire? Then add interest, then add tax. 3 years worth of back taxes. Add that because it's still too small. We don't allow ourselves to dream because we don't think that it's possible because our brains want to know how. You don't need to know how yet. You just have to start with the dream. Start with the dream and the desire. Then we'll figure out the how along the way. So start with allowing yourself to dream bigger than you could ever quantum think. Because to quantum leap, we have to quantum dream. Because it's crazy how small I see people. Well, I would love to just make $1,000 extra a month. And I'm like, yeah, but what about more than that?
Yeah.
Well, that's selfish. Not making it bad to want more. Number two, ask yourself, who do I need to become? What type of woman has all of these things? Maybe that means I need to become a woman who doesn't self-deprecate, talk to herself shit every day. Maybe that means I need to stop hanging around with a certain group of friends that make me feel like shit. Maybe that means I need to choose myself first and not men or relationships. Or maybe that means I need to look at my old self-sabotaging habits and behaviors and figure out how can I get this energy squeaky clean and feel good about me again today. So who are you becoming that has all of those things? And number three, who do I need in my corner that's going to help me get there? So that old saying, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. About 6 years ago, when I started this personal development journey, I decided to start up-leveling my circle. I decided not that the people I was with were wrong or bad. I'm still friends with several people I went to high school with that were my high school best friends. But I decided that if I wanted to be a person that was going to change the world, I had to put myself in rooms where people were changing the world. I had to decide that, okay, one of my fucking heroes and mentors, best-selling authors, is one of my best friends in the whole world now. She's someone who was just on the internet. It was just like a figment of my imagination. She was just this author. I was in a book club reading her book. Now she's one of my best friends. I decided I was good enough to be at the table with women like her. And so you're going to up-level. You're going to leave people behind. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It doesn't mean that you're mean or bad for leaving them behind. It means I'm choosing to put myself around positive people. around people doing really cool things, because your net worth is your network. And the law of attraction, the law of influence, the law of who are you becoming, you're going to learn new ways of living. Like, I learned how to be more abundant with my spending just by being around people who would fight over the fucking check at dinner, over a group of 8. Like, bougie. I mean, I was at dinner with some of my heroes at Summit of Slay like a year ago, and we were all, here's 4 millionaire women fighting over the check over like $1,000 dinner. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm going to fucking pay for it. No, I'm going to pay for it. And I was like, this is the type of people I want to be around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, it makes a huge difference. It makes such a huge difference. I think that was one of the main things that I grabbed from the fast track too, is that like seeing and witnessing all these other women, like, no, they know their worth. And then I'm like, well, shit, I know I'm worth that too then, you know, and then it really does. You start to really understand what your worth really is and how much you have been selling yourself short. Like, it is unreal how like much we are taught to sell yourself to be this small, this very small. And I'm like, and then once you realize and you kind of cross the bridge and you get closer to abundance and you start to realize like, oh, I'm literally, and I've actually had, like, just being totally transparent, I've had clients, you know, kind of like press back a little bit on me raising my prices and stuff. And I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, it's really nice whenever you're winning, whenever the ball's in your court. But whenever I start to take a little bit back, now there's a problem because I recognize the transformation that you're getting for this very, very small price. It's like, let's balance this out a little bit. Let's just balance. That's all it is let's balance this out a little bit. You're getting all of this. Why don't I get a little bit, you know? And so it's just
funny about prices. This is my favorite thing to talk about before we hop off. There's always going to be someone that's going to pay your new price.
Oh yeah.
There's always the right client for the right price. And we have to let ourselves outgrow clients.
Yep.
And people and friends and not let it mean anything. You're not mean. You're not bad. You're not leaving anyone behind. You're not serving those people. You're going to create lower cost offers that are going to serve everyone. It's just, you've up leveled so quickly that you are going to shed your friends, your clients, I raised my prices so quickly. None of my clients re-signed one time because I went from charging like $600 a month to charging like $3,000 a month at one point in time, 6 months later. So they couldn't quantum leap that quickly, right. But the type of people that I was attracting, because I hadn't leaped so quickly,
they can.
I found that there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm paying my coach $10,000 a month, and I happily, with grace, with excitement, with click by. Yep. Yes, I am the person that does this. And
samesies. I mean, not that much, but I get excited to pay for it.
Well, I've made $7,000 investments that didn't feel good a month. I'm like, because it wasn't the right fit, it wasn't the right match. But the right person that's helping you step into that next level, there will always be a person that is gladly going to click buy.
Yep.
And so what you know about that to be true now as a service provider is that you get to let people come and go in and out of your life as they choose. We don't need to hold on to all these people and say, you must stay with me forever. What does it mean if they don't like me anymore? It doesn't mean anything. There's 7.5 billion people on this planet to help.
And I think that I've had a lot of practice with that in my life. Like I quantum leap constantly. And so like people who, like even if it doesn't have to do with money, even just like, I've healed whatever this wound is. And then now I'm triggering them because I've healed it. And I'm like, no, right. I'm not there anymore, bro. Like I'm constantly leveling up and I get people say to me all the time, like, you are an example of what it means to shed. Like I'm constantly shedding, like, unless you are That's why I have such few like really close friends. Cause unless you are seriously like on the high flying disc, this is where we're going and we're not stopping and it's like constant and we're just always putting in the work. Unless you're there, then most likely you're at a step in a stage and then you get shed and I keep going. But you're welcome to come with me. Like, it's not like you're more than welcome to come with me, but you got to keep leaping with me.
I want everyone to come. Everyone's invited on the sleigh train.
Right.
It's just not everyone wants to take the free ticket.
Right.
Well, sometimes the ticket's not free, but you know what I mean? Like,
no, but even energetically, like,
train.
Yeah, even just energetically, it doesn't even have to take working in a program. Like, you could just follow your account or my account and still take quantum leaps just by witnessing our beingness. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it doesn't have to cost money, you know, if you want to take bigger leaps, then it will, but you can still rise just by being in the energy and interacting and observing, you know?
Mm-hmm. And that is, as an empath, it's really hard, I know, for women like us to say, I'm going here.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you coming? Why aren't you choosing yourself? Why aren't you choosing me? Why aren't you choosing to come with me? It's so much more magical. It's so hard to see people not see the potential that we see in them, not see all this amazing opportunity in this expansive life that we have chosen for ourselves and be like, why don't you want this for yourself too?
Right. I know, it's so hard. But the thing is like I've at least I have learned that whenever I try and pull them like along, that's like, it ends up even worse. Not like you got to just let them be. And eventually like maybe it'll line again or whatever it may be. But it's that empath, like, oh my God, I see, you could have this too. Like, there's no difference between me and you. Like, you can have this too. Come with me. But, you know, you just gotta let them walk their journey as they're meant to, you know?
Mm-hmm. We're not Captain Sabaho.
Well, I'm so appreciative for having you on here today, Jaime. Thank you so much for your time. I will be sure you guys to drop the links so you can find Jaime and her programs and her Instagram and all of the resources below in the show notes. But yes, thank you so much. I'm super appreciative of your time and I'm just so grateful to have found you and aligned with you and connected with you. Thank you for all your help on my journey. And we'll see what else unfolds.
Thank you for being you and bringing your light to the world, because you are one of the most magical people I've ever met in my life. And I'm so proud and so grateful to have been a small fraction of your journey. And I can't wait to see where this goes.
Thank you, Jaime. That means a lot.
Love you.
Love you too. You have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed that episode. Please subscribe, leave a review. And if this was impactful for you at all, please share it with others. This is how we can help each other. Much love and namaste.